our respected kaumātua from Tūhoi, Ngāti Kahungunu, and so that's where our project has started from. Other bits and pieces to do, just to introduce the project and the webinar. It's new ground for NMIT to be doing research with Māori and Pasifika focus. So the project is incredibly exciting to both myself and Carol, and we're in line with wanting to improve how Māori and Pasifika learners are engaged at NMIT. So to kick off.
Okay, so in June 2009, improve that experience for our students, so hence the learner journey title. So it included things like looking at induction processes, looking at individual learning plans, introducing teaching observations, so a whole heap of initiatives. So this project came very timely in the sense that we were looking at all these new initiatives. How could we make them inclusive for Māori and Pasifika students? So that's really what we set out to do. The aim was to do research and gather stories for that, and we were hoping to be able to deliver some new systems so that we were inclusive for Māori and Pasifika students and learners. So the overall purpose was actually to be, it would be better for everyone in the whole institution.
Okay. So how we initiated the project was we needed to make contact with Te Tau Ihu or Te Waka A Maui, which is the region in which NMIT is located. So we had a huge area to consider when talking about Te Tau Ihu or Te Waka A Maui. Part of the project was also making sure that we were connecting with marae communities, with Pasifika communities, with tangata whenua, Te Tau Ihu, Te Waka A Maui, and we also needed to connect with community experts so that we would know their voices when delivering the project and coming up with the outcomes. So the project went to Motueka, which is approximately 50 km outside of Nelson. We went to Te Awhina Marae and met with what has become our focus group, with a young group of young Māori women. The project also went to Tākaka, which is a further 100 km, and we met with Onetako Marae communities. The project also established in Nelson through our NMIT Māori Council. We also had an incredible opportunity to meet with the Nelson Tasman Pasifika Community Trust, based in Nelson, but also with incredible networks to their communities outside. The project also went to Waikawa Marae, we went to Picton, we also went to Glenham, and we met with groups who are already active in the Māori and Pasifika communities with Kore Institute, a private training establishment. And we also made contact with a group in Kaikoura who are connected to our Te Pari Māori department here at NMIT. So we were seeking to make relationships with people, to making relationships with community members so that we could find out from them what we needed to provide for the communities. So we were seeking local expertise, people in all of these organisations, in finding their opinions and finding what has worked and what doesn't work, so that the project would be based on what they know their communities need. Also from the outset of the project, we wanted to, and we being NMIT, we wanted to acknowledge that our relationships that we had with the Māori and Pasifika community needed to be improved, and that we wanted to have them in more than just consultative roles. We wanted them to be a part of the project. And the third component for meeting the group, the different groups in Te Tau Ihu, Te Waka A Maui, was that we created a project task group. So we had members from the community, as far from Tāpeka, Motueka, representing Pasifika, adult community education, health services. We had a task group that was formed from the basis that we needed to have Māori and Pasifika as an integral part of the project. So that would be time for questions. How can you hear me? Can everyone hear us okay? Are we audible? I think the word is. If you can hear me, great. When I am closer, fantastic. Okay. If you are having any problems, please don't hesitate to write what isn't happening or what isn't working right in the chat box. If I can see it and if I can read it, then we will certainly be able to adjust it. Great. Okay. We'll move on. So the second part, well, not a second part, but another factor to do with the methodology for this project was that we needed to connect with the Māori and Pasifika learners at NMIT. What we needed to do was to identify exactly where our Māori and Pasifika learners are. Contrary to popular demand and contrary to popular belief, not every Māori student that comes to NMIT is doing Te Reo Māori, is of a dark complexion. We have Māori students with a completely different demographic to the rest of New Zealand, but that's another story. Now back to the project, we needed to identify where our Māori learners were so that we could find out exactly how they were being served and how we can make their learner journey better at NMIT. So we discovered, to the surprise of many, that most of our Māori and Pasifika learners weren't in Te Kare Māori. Our graph showed that most of our Māori and Pasifika learners were in the primary industries. So that was a great finding that we used to dispel what were common beliefs. Now, how we met with the NMIT learners, we gave our learners a lot of opportunity to meet with us. We provided 4 different options for learners to engage with us. Now, how we got them interested in the project, or how we got the participation, was we used the internal mail systems here at NMIT. So we made postings so that all students could actually see what was happening. And then the participation was totally voluntary. So we had an opportunity for students to meet with us, and we would meet with them on campus, off campus, in places where they were more comfortable. If in fact it meant meeting away from the school of learning, then we would do so. The different techniques that we used, we had learners who were happy to have their interviews captured on audio cassette tape. We had learners who were happy to take away pieces of paper and write their own story. And we also had a lot of time where we sat with learners and they let us know about experiences that weren't working that particularly well for them. So we had participation right across NMIT. We took the project to meet with aviation at the Woodbury School in Marlborough. We also went to Blenheim and met with learners and staff. So at NMIT with our 3 campuses, Richmond, here in Nelson Central, and Woodburn, and Marlborough, 4 campuses, we took the project to both students and staff right across. And then the other part of that equation are our staff here at NMIT, and it was the same process. We met with staff right across all of the schools here at NMIT. And what we needed to find out was exactly who were serving our learners. One of the startling statistics that we came up with is that at NMIT we have a staff of approximately 280 to 320 at varies. And out of those 280 staff, we have 8 staff who identify as being Māori. So we have 8 staff that, we have 8 Māori staff that our Māori learners can identify with out of 280. So we have some work to do. We needed to meet with staff to find out through their experiences what was and what wasn't working with their learners. We had an incredible feedback from the majority of our staff saying that they don't know what a Māori learner looks like. They are not aware or not experienced in delivering to Māori learners specifically or Pacifica learners specifically. And then out of all of our staff, we have a lack of understanding or lack of knowledge when it comes to Māori and Pacifica pedagogy. So we certainly found out that our staff, great in intentions for teaching and great in their knowledge bases, were acknowledging that they needed further training or further assistance in delivering to Māori and Pacifica learning. So it was a great finding. Unlike our learners, we also took the project to meet with staff when they were comfortable, that time suitable for them, and they also were given options to share their stories with the project. Most of the staff were quite happy to sit and talk and share their opinions and experiences of what they think can be better for Māori and Pacifica. I think that's enough talking probably now. I'm going to have a different process. I'm going to questions. So do we have any questions from the participants? It's okay if you don't, because it's Carol's turn to talk. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Carol's turn to talk.
Okay, so we'll keep rolling, and if you do think of a question, just please type your question in, and we can come back to it at the next question break. So obviously we have lots of findings from this process, and we can only cover a few of them now to give you an overview. But let's just consider the students first. And in terms of their initial experiences, what tended to come back was, certainly for Māori students, was that we were really just being tokenistic. So there was a welcome, pukari, which they all found really welcoming. And one student quoted, he felt like he was moving into an environment that was going to, hold him, support him. So he felt quite good, despite being nervous at that point. Then went off to his classroom and discovered that that was it. He was back in a real world, and so he suddenly felt he didn't belong again. So I guess we need to take those sorts of messages quite seriously if we're going to meet the needs of our Māori, specifically our Māori students. One of the other interesting things, Paul was talking about statistics back there, and we did discover that many students and a few staff actually don't identify themselves as Māori despite being Māori. So again, that needs, we have to ask lots of questions about why that is, and obviously one of those things is that we're not meeting their needs appropriately in our environment here at NMIT. The students generally were supportive of the initiatives that we were trying to introduce around induction, and were very keen to offer us more assistance and guidance in how we might improve those. In terms of individual learning plans, the students thought they were a great idea, and because they believe in the relationship building, so the fact an IOP involves people to people and those learning conversations. So there was a great welcome to that, and they saw that the relationships was a critical point. And I guess for all of us teaching, we know that the relationship we have with our students is always, the better that is, the better the rapport, the better the learning at the end of the day. In terms of literacy and numeracy, the students were commenting on access to learning and study support. Some of them didn't even feel they knew it existed or where to go, and others had grave concerns about the welcome. One quote was, "Where's the brown face?" But then again, that hits against the perception that every Māori has a brown face. So, there's so many messages in this piece of research that we're quite excited about delving into it a bit more. And the critical thing all the students were saying really was that they have a need to feel safe, and we would concur with that for all our students. We want them to feel safe in this learning environment at NMIT. As far as the staff were concerned, the big surprise, I guess, or was it a surprise? Possibly not, was the limited attention or awareness that was given to whānau tapawhā. 80% of our staff didn't know what it was or were unaware of it. In terms of whanapale, 95%. Quoting back to Paula, I don't know what that is. So we have a lot of work to do in working with our staff around that. There were some great pockets of engagement, absolutely, and staff really trying to engage in Māori practice, Māori pedagogies, and trying to share that with all their students so that everyone was benefiting from that, those approaches. Our Māori students, the small numbers they are succeeding, as you can see from the graduation picture there, despite this lack of awareness. So there is a lot we can still do to improve the comfortableness and the appropriateness for our Māori and Pasifika students. Okay, that's still me again. Sorry, I've moved twice on the trot here. So, in terms of recommendations, what the output from this whole project recommended, the first one, take two. So, obviously, the project was much bigger than I naively anticipated.
A lot bigger.
And really, that was my naivety around the importance of communicating, connecting and communicating with the community. And as you saw in the map that Paula put up there, it's a huge, top of the south area. So a lot of time was spent building those relationships and seeking their support, which of course has to happen. So it's given us the foundation to move forward. But for me, expecting an outcome, physically an outcome was obviously quite limited because of the time frame. This was a 6-month project. The funding was just the 6 months that finished in December. So it was a very short time frame, so Paula did really well to achieve everything she did. Obviously, the issues around Māori Pasifika and whanapale, we need to use the DVDs that are provided for literacy and numeracy.
Great resource.
Yep, No New Learners, so they will be part of our staff professional development this year and beyond, and also using them as part of staff induction for new teachers coming into the institution. Try to recognise that Māori Pasifika come from all sorts of backgrounds, the mixed culture, so that we have to lose this perception that every Māori Pasifika person has brown face. And so redevelopment, well, we're really just talking about how can we take the world views of Māori, take the world views of Pasifika in our new initiatives. Let's develop those, slide and see if they actually fit everybody. And we believe that there's a lot of ground to be made in that. So ground reductions, ILP, and certainly teaching observations. We have a lot of tools in place that are going to help us move this forward.
And just to add to the recommendations, of some of the outcomes of the projects are starting to be included in NMIT policies in part of our structures and part of what we use to run the organisation. So to have terms like whare tapawhā written into our internal policies is fantastic. It's absolutely wonderful to have that opportunity to have that included in there. So now we're all responsible for it. So moving on to the 5 remaining recommendations of Te Mākia Te Hua Makihikihi, we identified very quickly that we needed to have the appropriate service expertise. We do not currently have a staff member appointed to being part of our learning and teaching support staff here at NMIT. So we identified that very quickly, that apart from the few who teach in Te Tau Māori, there's a gap, nice and simple. So we need to be recruiting and to be employing our staff at NMIT with those types of roles in mind, because they are servicing not only our Māori and Pasifika learners, but all of our learners. So we have a lot of learners who could benefit from Māori and Pasifika pedagogy. Down here, the next thing, class tours. We trialled as a part of the project when we had time to see what would happen if we were to provide service where we could usher some of our Māori and Pasifika learners around NMIT. So part of our context in Motueka, we found a group of young Māori women who desired education and who wanted to learn, but they didn't know how to access it. So we ran a very small visit where this group of young Māori women came in and experienced NMIT. And from that, we got, from a very small group that we had in 2010, we came out with 8 complete enrollments in 2011. So we trialled something that we think is going to be worthwhile, that will work here at NMIT. It may indeed be normal practice at other institutions, but here at NMIT, it's a new initiative that fits. Another initiative, Whānau Open Day, we also found and acknowledged that most of our learners here at NMIT, our Māori and Pasifika learners, are mature adults. So we have mature adults with families, with work responsibilities. So we need to be providing them with information that's appropriate for them and that they can access. So having open days at NMIT where children are welcome, it's certainly a huge component of Māori and Pasifika world that the entire whānau was welcome, that the entire whānau was coming. So that's another new initiative that we'd like to see happen with the project. The next untapped resource, Carol mentioned that we've got little pockets of tutorial staff here at NMIT doing great work. And right across the board, we've got incredible knowledge, incredible experience, incredible skills. What we haven't quite got is how to tap into it. So that's what we're calling the untapped resource. We need to find a way to be communicating amongst our core campuses to get all of those great ideas into practice and servicing all of our learning. And finally, here on Build On It, it's a message for NMIT that we're at a point where we've gone and done some great things in the community last year. So we need to keep and maintain those relationships and actually build on it. So we're wanting to take this project to what we have identified as being the second stage. So the first stage was pretty much a wake-up call for both Carol and I. So we literally ran out of time, and in a mighty team of 2, we need a bit more time and a bit more space and leverage to actually do what we want to do for our Māori and Pasifika learners here at NMIT.
Great. No, great. I guess we have committed now to employ, take on a Maori or Pasifika person within the learning and study support area who will help continue this project through. So there is a commitment from the top of the organisation to keep this project moving so that we do better meet the needs of all our learners, especially Maori students. Okay.
So, looking at the time, I can see that we've got maybe 3 minutes for questions. And to our late attendees, welcome. Thank you for attending. Shah, Shah, how are you?
If you wish to respond, you just type in the chat box there, or if anyone has a question. We will put up our contact details as well for you if anyone wants to direct us with a direct question or email.
So here are our contact details for both Carol and myself. Right.
Okay, Lynette, thanks for that. Lynette has no questions. Thanks for joining in. How about everyone else? We're happy to stay a couple more minutes if people do want to talk. I should say chat, shouldn't I?
Chat.
As you can tell, we're a bit new at this, so we're pleased that it's gone without too much hassle. I'm concerned that some people probably struggle to get into this session, but it is being recorded and you can revisit it on the literacy news for adults website. So thanks for joining, coming, and see you soon.
I'll wave.
Bye-bye. Yora. Lara. Bye.